All right, so things are cooking in the market right now. Bitcoin, Ethereum, what we're doing and watching with Solana. We'll break down a lot of things for you guys today, but it's all going to be built around the narrative of the ETF, when and how much of an impact it will have on the markets. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into the Tech Path. All right, a couple of posts we'll get into. I want to kind of flow along here. There's going to be a lot happening today. Before I get started, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you guys are looking at long-term holding in an IRA, this is one of the places to check out. You can hold Bitcoin over there, precious metals, altcoins, all sorts of things. It's all self-directed over there, very easy to use. All you have to use is our link down below. Get a $100 funding reward if you decide to go in on that. Low fees too on your transactions inside. No fees on a monthly. So just think about that. Let's go over to a couple of tweets here. I want to start off with Mike Alfred or Alfred. Mike had a very interesting tweet here that I follow this guy. I would say he's a Bitcoiner, and he had a really good position point here on the 1st of November. FOMC press conference over. Jerome is off stage. Markets are not following the familiar script of dumping through the close. This is the turning point. Yields will fall, the dollar will top, and Bitcoin and equities will rip through the year end. Basically, Mike called it, and I think he's exactly right. What we did see in terms of yields starting to fall, in fact, we saw a fairly significant jump down in yields. If you look at what Joe Consorti was talking about, this is a good example. People are losing faith in the U.S. creditworthiness even after the 10-year yield has fallen by 51 bips. So that to me is some of these nuances that happen in the traditional markets that start to move things around. It also starts to loosen up capital on the sidelines, and that's what you're watching right now. And then if you look at the comparison of where things are going around Bitcoin, because some people are saying Bitcoin could make it to 50K. And part of this will look at, of course, the ETF, the likelihood of getting an ETF before the end of the year. Even though our friends at Bloomberg still believe that that's like a 70% probability, I feel like this is probably going to roll into that January 10th date. And when it does, I think that is the key. Now, what does that mean between now and then? I think that is the big question for sure. Fox Biz says BlackRock is growing increasingly confident in the spot Bitcoin ETF approval by January. Listen, they're having conversations with the SEC. There's a lot of back and forth dealing with this. You had Gasparino talking about this. Everybody on Wall Street is talking about this. If this does not happen, this would be one of the biggest fails, I think, on Wall Street in combination with the SEC, maybe that we've ever seen in the history of Wall Street. Other things to be watching for, and this is something that Saylor and I talked about the other day when he was on. Just in, French investment bankers receive an email from BlackRock promoting a webinar for their iShares and swap ETF products on November 15th. This is within 8 days of a spot Bitcoin ETF approval window. So this is something that Saylor and I talked about, Bloomberg analysts, and the questions that have kind of been brewing is that there's been a lot of advertising. They're called RFPs. And if you're in the media business, you know what that is. But there's been a lot of RFPs coming in asking about certain windows of time and how quickly you can activate ads. This to me, what is it? Because normally this is a year-end kind of thing. And year-end, sure, there could be a scenario where people are just, blowing the rest of a budget that they've already allocated. But these seem to be very targeted and very specific. And when you get those kinds of RFPs, which we've received, then I'm always questioning what are they looking for? What exactly is going on? That usually tells me there's a campaign brewing, and what else is out there right now that could be brewing in terms of campaigns when it comes down to marketing. Just like Saylor said, it's going to be a marketing bloodbath of who's going to try to position first, whether it's BlackRock, 21 Shares, Fidelity, all the ones that we have out there in terms of the spot ETF. Here's another topic on Bitcoin. Here's how high Bitcoin could soar in the first year of its bull cycle. This is, of course, coming from Michael Vandepop. A couple of things he's pointing to right here. We're getting ourselves into a period of the first year of the bull cycle. Means that most likely we're going to see a high of around 50 to 55K. I would agree with that to a certain extent. There are some things, if you're not in our Diamond Circle, our most recent post where Evan and I actually did two analyses on this. Evan did an analysis on the TA side. We did an analysis on the sentiment side. And looking at the long-term sentiment run of Bitcoin in general, especially if you look at how it compares to other assets, and you kind of compare that to new activity, meaning new people talking about a particular investment like Bitcoin, it's starting to ramp up. So does that mean that we could be seeing entry-level participants or people that haven't been active for a very long time coming back into the space, which could contribute to these kind of numbers in terms of 50 to 55K? We're also going to have a period where we have the altcoins are starting to wake up substantially. Obviously, I think everybody's watching Solana, Matic, Avalanche today. Those are all altcoins, and they're all in a very positive mode right now. And of course, Ethereum clipped over 2,100. Most likely, we could see a 22 by weekend. So there's a lot happening there. Question will be, in between, are we going to see altcoins do really well? And we're starting to see some momentum. Will that last? And does it act like a typical altcoin season? That's the question mark that I think a lot of people are trying to compare. Because if you look at past cycles versus this one, and the one we possibly are moving into coming out of a bear market, a lot of people look at it in a different way because of all this new speculation around ETFs, regulation, structured capital, the coming of age of this asset class, all those things that did not exist in the last run between 2019 and 21. So at this point, the confirmation of the bear market is over, almost close to 100%, especially with the breakout of 28K. That was the one that basically held the 200-week EMA. So definitely moving forward for sure. This is another question. UBS embarks on crypto ETF trading frontier in Hong Kong. And when I see headlines like this, this is one of our analysts kind of brought it up today, and I thought, yeah, this is true. And that is that we see these hotspots, meaning Hong Kong, you see what's happening in the UK, also the EU. Is there an opportunity, especially timing-wise, because the US, is not prepared from a legislative front to be able to adopt to this quickly? The only two that possibly could happen quickly, and again, Saylor and I talked on this earlier this week. If you guys haven't seen that video, go back and watch that video, because we got into a lot of things around ETH ETF as well as the Bitcoin ETF. And the point being is that Bitcoin as an ETF, yes, that's going to be very positive for the markets here in the US, but we still have challenges of a lot of these funds and a lot of these strategies and innovations, especially in the fintech field, moving offshore. And that's a problem because unless we get regulatory clarity, even though we see some pushback now from Congress, we've got to be able to see action. And I think that's the key point that's going to be taking place here. A couple of tweets that I thought were interesting. Michael Saylor, I mean, this guy looks like an absolute hero right now. And if you think about Saylor and where people have looked at him, many people, I think, doubted what Saylor's conviction was toward Bitcoin, but obviously $1 billion in unrealized profit right now. That's insane for a guy who's basically out there just pushing on the Bitcoin gas pedal for sure. A couple of 3 tweets here. I put out a tweet this morning, and this was in reference to Peter St. Onge's statement around household debt and all the problems. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand. Even in my circle, I still do these weekend training sessions of high net worth individuals. And even they, who are very astute in the financial markets, are still trying to understand how to overcome these inflationary and these credit positions that have put the markets into kind of a bit of a tizzy. And soon you'll understand, infinite opportunity in the crypto outpaces all of this credit and inflation. Resiliency is the key, meaning you got to stay in the markets. And in a time where you can be, a normal common person can front run the system, this is something that really is an opportunity. So you kind of have to choose wisely. And what I mean by that is choosing wisely of traditional finance or going in to no man's land, a place where you truly can get on the front end of an innovation that is happening. And I'm not the only one that kind of talks about this. Here's Ram Nawala. He's talking about this. Kind of amazing how Wall Street Industrial Complex missed the best performing asset class of the year. Every major bank, JP Morgan, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, everybody, zero exposure. And then GBDC and ETH are up, of course. By contrast, scroll below for how well positioned going into the quarter. So I like it. Stay non-consensus. Very good one. And then Raoul Pal. This is a good tweet right here. Remember, we all have been given a gift of being able to front run Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and the Main Street in crypto. And I think that's the cool thing here is that you guys do, because you're watching our show, you're already ahead of the game. You're already way out in front of 99% of the global population. Remember, we're only at 1.5 trillion right now. And Bitcoin, sure, that's really exploded, but we're still $1 trillion away from an all-time high, possibly another trillion on top of that from the next market high. And who knows where we could be going beyond that in terms of how this market flows out. You have one job, that's not to mess this up. Same rules apply since 2012. No naked leverage. You should not be leveraging. And no FOMO. Don't get crazy and start FOMOing in on things. And of course, do expect some pullbacks. I agree with him. And then, kind of zoom out. Have a long-term view of the projects that you're, convinced about, you have conviction about, whatever they are. You guys believe it. You do your research. And it's easy to kind of follow along with those kind of tool sets. JP Morgan, when you think about where this is all going, JP Morgan adds Holy Grail payments feature as part of their blockchain push. I mean, that's Jamie Dimon right there, the guy that was one of the biggest fudders about blockchain that ever was. I almost wonder if Wall Street knew they were coming into this space years ago. They just were trying to figure out a way to get into it. And now it's constructed in a way. But unfortunately, it's not turning out as well for Wall Street because most of the market is paying attention. When I say most of the market, the crypto OGs, the people who are really understanding where this market is going. A couple of points in the article. Morgan is giving institutional clients more control over payment via JPM coin, marking the company's latest blockchain related milestones. So this is just showing more faith in the idea behind blockchain technology. It's the ideal infrastructure to which programmable payments can be applied and enables rule and bank accounts to be integrated with a native manner, enabling cases including dynamic debits, multi-party escrow accounts. This is what changes traditional tokenized securities or traditional securities into tokenized securities, speeds up the chain, and also starts to do things in terms of making the financial markets really 24/7 real time. And I think that's the cool thing that really is starting to play out here. Of course, Onyx, if you don't know much about Onyx, go research that because you'll learn quickly how this network could be one of the next frontiers of tokenized assets. Last up here, a couple of big Wall Street firms now ramping up efforts to tokenize assets. You've got State Street Global Advisors showed an interest in tokenized exchange-traded funds. You got Matteo Andretto, who is, of course, the head of their EMA at State Street, said we'll be looking at tokenization of ETFs. BlackRock already, Larry Fink, he commented on this in the letter to shareholders that there's an operational potential for some underlying tech. He's talking about blockchain. Citigroup hitting on this. You get the picture. This is structured Wall Street at its best, and they now have come to the party in understanding where this is going. So what's the first party favor that's going to happen? It's going to be the Bitcoin ETF. Everything is hinging on that control. And I think between now, all the way back to the first tweet that Mike hit on, is right now you are in a very, very interesting time between now and when that ETF occurs. Sit back, watch, enjoy. I love to kind of quote Mike Alfred there. But the point being, guys, pay attention. I know you guys are. If you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure I'm subscribed now. It's another way, and hit that little bell because we're going to be starting to roll out a little bit more live streams, trying to get you guys updated on more. But if you're not at our Diamond Circle, that's really where you can catch some of the additional alpha and more content that we don't do here on the channel. Of course, if you want to catch me out there on X, it's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.